How do you actually stop wasting your time? As a person who absolutely hates wasting time, this video is a hot topic, and I'm guessing if you clicked on this video, you hate wasting time too. Our fascination with time just shows how much we really value it, hence why we don't want to waste it in the first place. You have to remember, time is the most valuable commodity we have, and it's something that once it's wasted, we never get it back. In this video, I'm going to show you what wasted time is and how we can stop wasting it. Let's get to it. Let's start with a $1 million question. What is wasted time? And how do you actually define and quantify what wasted time is? In a personal sense, it might be something that doesn't get you towards your goals, or something that just really doesn't push the needle forward in your life. In a business sense, assuming you're making good decisions, we're talking about inefficiencies. And also in a business sense, wasted time can fall into something that you're doing that could be automated. So if you have a computer or software that can do it automatically, why should I spend my time doing it? So how do you determine what is worth your time? That's when you go back to your big picture goals. Ask yourself if what you're doing is likely to help you accomplish those goals. For example, that extra hour spent watching TV shows might have been better spent at the gym, or spending time with your family, or working on your side hustle. Your big picture goal will dictate where most of your time is well spent. So how do we differentiate between what is wasted time and what isn't? And this concept can be a little subjective because everyone's idea of how they categorize their time is completely individual. But the one constant is context matters. Most people think sitting around and relaxing, watching movies, and playing video games is an absolute waste of time. And in some cases, yes. But on the same token, if you just finished a 10-hour workday and you're mentally drained and exhausted, these activities allow you to recharge. Now, if you go and watch 6 hours of movies a day, that might be considered wasted time unless you're a movie critic where you watch movies for a living. That's why context matters. For each situation, you're going to have to apply context. We also want to do more things that we enjoy. If something is not enjoyable and it's not moving us towards our goals or maintaining some type of relationship, it's likely to be considered wasted time. One question you have to ask when figuring this all out is, are you wasting time to the point where you're not being productive? Hence why I put out my free ebook, the Productivity Starter Kit. It saves you up to 6 hours per week. The link's in the description below. But again, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing, the task, the project, or whatever activity that I'm currently doing, to the point where I'm not being productive anymore? Answering this will help you start sorting out some of the wasted time and what is time well spent. So tip 1, find what pushes the needle forward in your life. What things that you do push the needle forward on your goals, relationships, and your areas of responsibility. Those are the 3 criteria you want to filter your time through. If a task or time is spent doing something that doesn't meet any of those criteria, it's more than likely wasted time. And at this point, you're going to just have to get rid of it. There is the age-old conversation about have to do's versus want to do's, like certain things that you have to do in life and other things that you want to do or get to do. And sometimes it's both, but sometimes it's not. But if you do a ton of things that you want to do and neglect the things that you have to do, you're more likely wasting a lot of time. All in all, remember that all of your time counts, so these 3 filters help prevent wasted time. Tip number 2. Keeping the goal top of mind. So chances are, if you're a driven person, an entrepreneur, you're wanting to build something or achieve something. Always keep the big goals that you have top of mind. If you haven't set your big goals yet, I have an entire video on that and I'll put it in the card above. Being someone who is driven, you find pleasure in getting things done and moving towards your goals and accomplishing those really big business milestones. These are the things that you're going to want to celebrate along the way. These mini celebrations keep your goal relevant, exciting, and top of mind. Tip number 3, do a time audit. And with this step, we're going to get a little more tactical. Take a time log for 3 days. Write down everything you do and for how long you're doing it. Make sure one of these days is the weekend or your day off, because we know your routine changes drastically during the weekend. You can do this on a piece of paper, and I'll include a time log download in the description below, or you can just use a time tracking app. Once all 3 days are logged, run them through filters in step 1. So do they meet your goals, any relationships that you have to maintain, or areas of responsibility? and identify patterns of inefficiencies or wasted time. Question of the day: what is one time waster that you're gonna get rid of? So by tomorrow, you're not doing this anymore. Throw that down in the comments section below, and I'm gonna make sure that I throw mine down there as well. Tip 4, use the time blocking method in a digital calendar app. So I have a ton of videos on my channel about time blocking, and I also have a free time blocking starter kit. Still surprises me to this day how many people don't operate off a calendar, and I don't know how they do it. They either don't have a ton going on or they're just grossly inefficient. In order to calendar block, you need a calendar. I prefer digital, but you can use pen and paper. So with calendar blocking, I have a video on this and I'll link it in the card above, but this is where you're gonna block out times of the day to accomplish specific tasks or projects. And typically we theme these out. So at work, you might have 2 hours of administrative work to do, 4 hours of work with clients, maybe you have an hour to research your next big project, and then 30 minutes to put the slide deck together. Tip 5, plan in margin for your day. Schedules shift, things change, things get canceled or pop up, and your plan almost never goes perfect when it comes to the timing. If you plan in the margin time in your schedule, you'll be able to properly adapt when things hit the fan. If you plan your day back to back to back with tasks and projects and meetings, what happens when something gets behind? You have no margin to make up anything. Then you get stressed or overwhelmed, and that's when your work becomes inefficient and you end up wasting time. You can see it's just like a domino effect. So save yourself the stress and plan in some margin time. I highly recommend you plan at least 20% buffer time in. Just remember, when things don't go as planned or take longer expected, you have to be adaptable. Adjust and just keep moving forward. Tip 6, set time limits. And this one goes hand in hand with time blocking. There's something called Parkinson's Law, and it states the amount of time a task takes expands based on the time allotted. We have to set a reasonable time limit on tasks, projects, and daily activities. If this is something new to you, it's going to be a little tricky at first because you have to get good at estimating the time it takes to complete certain tasks. And that can be hard in some situations where you don't control all of the parameters. In this case, it might be something you're waiting on or something someone else has to do that is completely out of your direct control. Setting time limits can be an issue if you're a perfectionist. At a certain point, when you're doing your own tasks, done is better than perfect. You have to accept the fact that there are other urgent and important things to be done, and you're just gonna have to move on to the next thing. So estimate an allotted appropriate time for that task. You might get it done sooner, but if not, the time limit helps you from overdoing it. Once you hit the time limit, move on. Tip 7, use the priority matrix to remove wasted time. Filter your tasks and projects and activities through the Eisenhower priority matrix, and I'll throw up a graphic right here. And if you haven't seen or heard of this graphic before, here is the graphic. The top 2 quadrants are about how you should spend your time, and the bottom 2 quadrants are about where you should not spend your time. Now let's focus on the bottom of the matrix. If something is not important and it is urgent, then we're going to delegate it. And if it's something that's repetitive, that's done by a computer or software, then there's a good chance that you can automate it. If something is not important and not urgent, then delete it off your list completely. Say goodbye to those time wasters and energy drainers. Putting these things through the priority matrix will help you quickly filter through what is time well spent and what is wasted time. Now, if you followed these tips, you should have eliminated some of your wasted time and have a decent amount of time freed up. Now, what are you gonna do to be productive during that time? I hope you found these time-saving tips helpful. Until next time, stay productive.